Hey, Christy, we're going live.
Hey,
Who
how's
do
it
you want to
going?
do a shout out to?
I'd like to do a shout out to Paz Van Zandt of the Madness Comic Network. Thank you for putting up Blood Shower for me every week and reviving it. We threw the fucker back in the microwave. Oh, sorry. We threw the little bastard back in the microwave. I think that's a little bit more accepting. Secondly, I would like to go and say thank you for Colossus Girl Entertainment for having me out as a guest to your cons this year. Thank you so much. And then all the pieces of crap that inspired Demon Bitch and all my other writings. I love you too.
I love your energy. Let's do this thing. Here we go. Hey guys, we've got our PG guest on today, Christie Shinn, and we're going to be talking with Christy, who is a award-winning illustrator and comic artist, and she's going to share her work and chats about the power of art and how it changes things. She's also a writer and artist of Personal Monstrosities. It's a compendium of monstrosities of personality, sepulchre, and has a weekly comic, webcomic on Patreon called Demon Bitch, which we'll be talking about. She is the winner of the 2018 Ringo Award, and we'll talk about all that for Best Anthology. Welcome to the show, Christy. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Busy as always. You know, I told you about my scheduling and everything. I am getting ready to go to TwitchCon down today. So I'm driving down to San Diego. But I hope to see you all there from the 7th to the 9th. There's TwitchCon. It's going to be fun. And if you're an art streamer and all that, or if you're there, I'm at booth AA153, I believe. I'm going to double check on this guy. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in Florida, so I probably won't have time to get there today,
Oh, but
even though I would love to get back to San Diego.
yeah, I
So
mean, maybe we'll meet up and all that. That would be fun.
I am almost positive that we will meet up one day. We're going to figure out how to make that happen. Let's talk about some of the work that you do. I think it's absolutely amazing the way that I've looked at your comics, I've looked at your link trees and stuff like that. And the fact that you can actually, you take all these things that come to your head and you turn them into comics. I want to know, first of all, how do you just even do that? How do you come up with your ideas, especially for Demon Bitch? How do you come up with those ideas?
Oh, man. I think rage. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that sounds weird, but just rage. You know, it's kind of funny. Rage repels a lot of people in both good or bad ways. And it's kind of like, I guess I would simplify it like it would probably be like with cats. Remember I showed you that video, like, you ruined everything, you stupid bee? And it was like,
Yeah.
okay, so the thing that it's not going to be funny if I just tell it, but I'll just set it up. It's two ginger cats in a drawer, like, you know, cats hang out anywhere, right? And I guess they were saying like they had adopted one, but the other one thought like the other one was going to leave or something. Because you know when cats, when you put two of them together,
Right.
when they come together, they're kind of pissy at each other. So this cat was also a girl, and she was just looking at this other cat so resentfully, and then just he was just doing like whatever, like I'm kind of doing whatever, and then just at just this moment, she just hits him, and that's kind of how I draw a demon bitch. I mean, I know that sounds like, oh, so you just hit anybody that makes you angry. It's like, no, you have to make me angry in that certain kind of way. That's the thing. That's why I feel kind of, um, you know, it's like I think rage does a lot of that with me, but I try to kind of think it out or something that annoys me or pisses me off. I remember Matt Groening in Life in Hell, they said like three useless occupations. And one of them was, I think, a performance artist or actor, model, and like artist and cartoonist. And one of the cartoonists, it was like going, well, for cartoonists, like, how do you annoy them? Because asking each one of them, like, how you annoyed them. And it said, it is unwise to annoy cartoonists.
Do
Because
you is the what is it, the impetus, I guess that's the word, that pushes you, things that happen in your life or things that you see that happens around you?
I would say things that happen around me and what happens in my life. It's a combination of both. Or stupid shit that I see people doing over and over and over again. And I kind of go like, did you take a moment and understand that this was not something you should do anymore? Like, you're not happy doing this, but you're doing this because this other thing didn't make you happy. But you're doing this other thing that didn't make you happy. So why are you doing this thing that makes you just perpetually unsatisfied too? That to me is It's like that's pretty stupid in general. And again, I'm not trying to call the person stupid. I mean, sometimes there's very deep down dug in patterns that we do or that we have that manifests itself in different ways. And I understand that, but it's just like, really?
Yeah. Is Demon Bitch you, or is it your thoughts, or is it somebody else that you get to play and do the things that you want to say out loud but don't say?
I would say it's based off like people that I've known, like all the characters, but that's what they are. But I mean, I've had people try to confront me on this, like, you drew that about me. And I'm like, going, honey, there were 4 or 5 of you that I ran into beforehand. You're not original.
That's
So
funny.
essentially, it's like, yes, it's real life, but I'm not going to say it's you. There's like, you're not the special personality type you make yourself out to be, kind of thing. Like, because usually people like that, they end up like bullying people and saying, "Well, I'm the best. You're all basic. Fuck you." And like, really, if you have to say that you're a genius, that you're awesome, that you're this and that the other thing on on a constant basis, then you really don't believe that about yourself.
Yeah. It's kind of
Yeah,
like
and
Carly Simon song, You're So Vain.
yeah, if you got to punch down, then that's even more evident. Like, oh well, I'm a genius. See, and I did this thing. It's like, then why are you an insulting bitch to everybody?
Yeah. It makes the world interesting when you run into these people because now you get to reflect back to them what they are, right? Or
Yeah,
it could be.
yeah, and it's just funny because it's like it's funny to see them get mad because it's like, why do you think this is about you? I mean, did it kind of hit hard in the way you didn't like? But then again, conversely, I get people that are like, yes, you've been saying the thing that I've been wanting to say. Like I make fun of people that like fake a disease in order to get sympathy. Like there was one person I ran into that faked too. And they're like, how do you know? It's like, well, they didn't explain the process quite right in determining how to diagnose that disease. And I was just like,
Who's your audience, you think? Who reads Demon Bitch and who follows you?
honestly, it's the Gen X and Gen Z, I guess, and millennial crowd that reads it. And it's pretty much on even par with men and women in general. But
Okay.
sometimes they'll have certain different demographics pop up, like they kind of poke their head out for a while that show interest. Like for a while, trans women were coming out and loving my stuff. And
Okay.
then gay women were coming out and loving my stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that that never happened. It's just they've been kind of like, oh, hey, here we are. Oh, hey, here we are.
Do
And
you
then
actually plan out like a whole series of like comics and you go like, oh, I'm gonna do this idea and I'm gonna do four, five, six on those and then go from there?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
that
it's
maybe that's
yeah, it's kind of one of those things. Like it's kind of pleasing to know what demographic you're hitting. It's kind of like, oh, so this is the popcorn of stuff I have today, and they may like it for similar reasons, or like, you know, the very base of reasons, like anybody else. So it's kind of interesting. So
yeah. Well, I've read them and I think that there are some of them that just make me laugh out loud. So it's a interesting way of looking at the world, and I kind of like the point where people say, you know what, I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and someone's gonna follow me.
mhm.
So I think you've done that, and it's apparent in the work, and it's apparent because people are following you, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because like when I started, like with personal monsters, that was the personal monstrosities that we were talking about, that was
Mhm.
being talked about earlier in the bio. It is really funny because personal, it's just like people are saying, let go of your anger, let it go, just let it go. But it's like, okay, how can I let go when I'm really upset about something that happened to me? Like
Mhm.
I'm processing it. Can I be that angry? But it would be weird because the very people that would tell me to give up on something, they didn't have it themselves or they held on to it. Like the people that told me to let go of my anger were the ones that would just, they'd be okay for a while, then snap about the same shit that happened to them years ago.
Yep. Yep.
So it's kind of like, okay, so you're not dealing with it either. It's kind of like some people would get mad at me, like if there was a breakup or something that I had to deal with. Oh, why are you really upset and sad and mopey? But then I'd be over it. And then they would still continue on with that fucking baggage for years.
Yeah.
It's like, no, get it out, you know? And I'm not trying to say, like, here's a time frame. I'm just saying that let the person get it out how they're having to get it out instead of
Do-
the having weird, unhealthy patterns later on to cope with the pain.
Yeah. I see that. I think artists in general are the people in the world who have something to say, usually, right? And so their art usually is the thing that says, this is what I think, this is what I want to get across. And if you don't get out, maybe you just build it up inside of you, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I think people, they say a bunch of stuff and they don't listen to each other, or they
yeah.
say a bunch of advice, but they don't really follow it, or they say a bunch of stuff that they think is going to be good to do or to say or is overtly noble, but really it's not really, because it's not really good for both parties. It's more
Yeah.
hurtful than hindering. I think people kind of don't see, I mean, it's like this. They say, well, there's good communication, but they think that means that I have to go and be cruel. I wrote that on my Facebook because it's like sometimes people make choices based on how much they want to lie about themselves or lie to themselves of how much that this is what they want to do and it's okay, rather than admit to themselves they're just settling. It's okay
So
if you feel like you're just settling because you're so discouraged, but you kind of have to get past that at some point.
explain that to me a little bit more because I didn't read that post on your Facebook. So give me
Well,
just a little bit more.
I was like thinking about things in my life and everything. And I just realized that, people come and do things. And I'm trying to be vague because it's like I'm
Okay.
not trying to get too detailed about all the aspects of my life. There's some that I don't feel like fucking putting out on the internet. Um, but it's just like I've noticed that people that cause the most damage, and I'm not saying that this is the only thing, whether in terms of religion, magic, love, job, whatever, they lie to themselves about what they really want. Sometimes they do it because they've been talked out of it on some level or some very painful life experiences. And I've had those quite a few. And I realized that, the worst thing you can do is kind of live a life where you lie to yourself and say it's okay when really it's not.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think probably a lot of people just do what you say. They cover up, and then maybe one day they explode. Maybe they don't. Maybe they become somebody else.
Or they just live
Um,
a life that's kind of miserable and they're sad,
yeah.
alone, whatever. And I'm not saying that to be an asshole. It's just that I see it and it's like you don't freely admit to yourself that what you do is what you do. And like you have to admit to yourself how much in pain you are. And then you kind of have to see the situation. And it's weird because like I know some people, if I say certain situations, they're going to say, well, why do you even tolerate that? Why do you even do that? Well, like I take my cancer thing, for example. And again,
Okay.
I never had cancer technically. I had a very scary precancerous experience. And what it was is that I had a tumor in my pancreas as of 2019 in August. It caused excessive weight gain. It caused mood swings. I wasn't like screaming, yelling, and throwing shit at people, but it did not help. Also, probably getting not in the nutrition that I needed and everything probably didn't help, even though I was gaining weight. And my focus wasn't there. So when I went in, when my life was turning around, thinking I had like a kidney infection, like literally, I seriously thought it was.
Uh-huh.
Short of it, they found a mass about 6 inches big. When you go in and you have that in your pancreas, yeah, 90 something odd percent, it is a malignant form of cancer. It is an advanced stage of cancer. And I was like, this is not fair. This sucks. I'm going to die. All the typical things. You feel like
Hmm.
your body dying around you. That was my experience. That was not fun. And when I went through that thing, like when you die, you're truly going to be alone because you're the only one going through it. And I sat there and just something just clicked on in my head and said that right now, this is not cancer. This is not cancer. So for the moment, you do not have cancer. Did that mean, did I have to go home and pretend it didn't happen? No. Okay. So what do you do? So I just focused on not having cancer. Right now, I don't have cancer. We don't know what this is. We'll find out. Because they were going to run tests. I
Right.
don't know. And even my sister, like, because we have a surgeon in the family, she married into a family, and one of the guys is a very good surgeon. And they said, don't focus on that until you get the biopsy back. So it was funny because next day it was a turnaround. And it was like the surgeon, the specialist that dealt with those tumors walked in and was like, hey, just to let you know, I know what this is. This is, it was a pseudopapillary neoplasm. It attacks primarily Black and Asian women. And I had that, and that was 3 to 5% rare. It is rare.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not cancer yet, but it would have been if I kept it in. So that's what I mean. I had a scary pre-cancer story. So that was kind of the next thing that sucked was they said, chances are you'll be diabetic. I'm like, son of a bitch. Because, even though diabetes 1 and 2 are very common in America, it's dealing with the concept that your food could be poisonous to you is very bad. It's
Yes.
not a pleasant thought. So I sat there and I cried, but I'm like, better than cancer, whatever. And then I ended up not having diabetes because what they do before they cut you open is they do a needle biopsy, came out negative. What another thing was in my favor is that it was not a solid mass. It was it was like 2 big cysts. So they were like, okay, this is more even of a fact that it's not cancer. So when they opened it up, took it out, I don't have any markers. I didn't have any, I mean, they did plenty of tests to make sure, but I didn't have the markers for cancer. I did not have the markers for cancer. The type of tumor it was made it very less likely that it was a type of cancer. Lastly, the needle biopsy came out negative. So they came in, took it out. I've been fine. And I've been scanning regrowth free ever since.
How did like that is a major thing, right? That happens in your life and people have things happen like that. Like how did it change you?
I
What
realized
things
that in the
changed?
face of shitty things, it's not as hopeless as it seems. And in a lot of instances in my life, it's had me persist with the thing. Now people go like, well, if it's a bad thing, how can you just tell? It's like, I think people cut out a little too early. I really
Yeah.
do. And sometimes what I have learned is that sometimes when things go shitty, it's actually a bridge of events or incidences where it actually will turn around. And I've noticed this about my mood when I feel very depressed about a thing. And I just stay present and being depressed about it. Like not like wallowing in it, but just like this sucks. I feel like this is the most horrible thing ever. I mean, of course, I would try to go do other things so I wouldn't sink lower, but then it would flip around and be 110% better.
Does all that then get back into your work that you do or just life in general or what happens?
I think it comes back in my work, but it kind of identifies certain things that really genuinely do suck and you shouldn't be there. I think it kind of unmasks a lot of the things that people just say on a surface level, like, well, like that, she has cancer, that's awful. Well, she's kind of not acting consistent with person that has cancer on certain levels, you
Hmm.
know. And then you find out that the person faked it. Now, I'm not trying to be like, cancer, you have to sit down and be hangdog and depressed or pretend to be happy all the time. No, I'm talking about like certain procedures, like, and I don't think we call out that sort of form of attention getting behavior where they fake it.
Yeah. One thing that I have found, because I've been in the hospital several times myself for various things over the years,
Mhm.
is once you get into an environment of, say, like a hospital or with my parents in the old in the I was gonna say old folks homes, but whatever the right word is, you start to act a way that people expect you to act, rather than going like, you know what, it doesn't hurt. Dang it, I don't need to be here. But instead, I found that a lot of times people say it hurts because that's what people are expecting me to say. And I think maybe what you did is 180 degrees different than that, right?
Yeah, I think like for the surgeon, he expected me to have diabetes. He expected me, and he says, "Here's our miracle patient now."
Right.
He's very fond of me because of that. Because I actually did some, I did some actually like supplements and other holistic things, but I did check with him. I mean, the thing is that I always determined that I would be better than what I was now at that moment. And some people shit on supplements, some people crap on like holistics. I think they all can work, but you got to work with your doctor. Why basically take out a prong out of a trident that you can use to attack the problem? Like use the solution in as many ways, shapes, or forms as possible.
Do you know? I don't know if you ever watched. I forget if it was American Idol or America's Got Talent or one of those shows. There was the girl in there, Nightbird, I believe was her name that she went by, Songbird, Nightbird, and
Mhm.
she had cancer. and she had the most positive attitude of anyone I've ever seen, and they gave her like a few percent chance of living, and I was like, man, I really want her to make it through. And she believed she was going to make it through. She was convincing the world she was going to make it through, and she didn't make it through. And I was so, I guess the word would be disappointed. I wasn't quite devastated, but I was definitely disappointed that she didn't make it. I don't know. What do you think the difference was with what she thought and what you thought? Like, why do some people make it, others don't?
That's hard to say in that situation. I don't know if she did all the right things. I don't know if she worked with her doctor, because I did. The thing is like, work with your doctor. But I don't know. I just had a feeling I would. And again, I'm not her. I
Yeah.
didn't want to. I don't want to say like, oh, it's this. It's just you just know. For me, I just knew. So that's a question that I've asked myself, like, how come this didn't happen despite this or whatever? I don't know if it's really belief, because there are times where you don't believe shit and it comes through. I don't want to say, oh, it's up to God or whatever, because I've seen things where people have done it through willpower. But am I saying that believing in God is stupid? No. I
Mm-mm.
think maybe how we believe is kind of different. Like, for example, I believe that you have that power within you. And I think that is given on a bigger scale, from something on a bigger scale or a bigger purpose. I do believe in God. Um, but I think how we think about God and how we think about these things, I think it's just, it's, as I said, it's kind of hard, because I don't want to be like, she deserved it or whatever. That is not my way
No.
of saying. And I am not saying like, just because, if you have certain things that you're reflecting out, you deserve abuse. I'm not saying that either. I've had people jump on me. I'm like, no, don't get there, because I am not condoning abuse, because I have been a recipient of abuse and assault. So I
Hmm.
understand that. But if you're reflecting a certain story out and you have not healed yourself, your brain is going to go and make you be in that world over and over again, because it's safe, which is weird. But it's what it's safe to, that I think it's one of those twisted things that does, like, in order for you not to go and be attacked by a bear anymore after you've been attacked by a bear like once, and that happens not very much. And that could have been by our caveman days or something, but it's like living in that fear, or just living with that thing constantly getting at you so you never get hurt again by it. It's like that weird thing of scarring yourself over and over again. And that
Wow.
is not as what I consciously don't try to do, because I do believe I want a peaceful life, I want a happy life and a loving life and all that. But it's sort of like, I've noticed that, at least when you've been a victim of horrific things, and it's also partially conditioning of the abuser to of the event or whatever, where it conditions you. Because there was some people that I knew that were really horribly abused as kids, and they say, well, I don't know why all this is happening to me now. I said, well, it's a story that plays out, that is projected, of your sense of self. And I said, this does not mean you are to blame. This does not mean that you want this. This does not
Mm.
mean you deserve this. But you have to understand, when somebody is abusing you, they're meaning to keep you down and in a hole. So what do? You hide, because any form of attention is negative. Because, oh, they're going to beat me or do whatever, or fuck with me or whatever.
Right.
You want that. So what do? Your unconscious mind, and your mind just projects out like, leave me alone, leave me alone. But then at the same time, that abuser's conditioning makes you a target of a lot of very negative things, because they're not doing anything, but it's like you're bleeding into the water kind of psychically. And that's when that's like, as soon as you call attention to it, it's like, you have to heal it. I'm sorry, you do. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it's your fault or you're a bad person or you deserve it. No, but you have to and I even tell them, like, the abuser is the one that tells you that you're worthless and you deserve all of this. And the
Yeah.
moment you root that out, and it's not that you're doing it to yourself consciously, it's more of I don't want to say psychic, but that's the best way I can say it, more of a psychic armor that you put up, which is weird, but I've seen it happen too many times not to think it's true, because you have been abused, and that's how it's a maladaptive form of maladaptive form of armor, where it's like, well, this is what I expect. So it's, if I let it happen to me over and over again, I'm not going to be surprised and hurt anymore. When it's, no, it's not a
Yeah.
good thing.
Bring
So
that back around to art, and bring that back around to how you, not just you, but how artists in general can express themselves and let go of some of that anger or talk about the world. Because what we're talking about here to me is super important. I love what you're saying.
yeah, it's. I think it just I channeled it in the more raw way. I felt every moment of that anger and hatred and whatever the fuck else that I had to deal with. Just let it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
I didn't do it to prove a point. I just let it out.
is Demon Bitch that outlet, or are there other outlets also?
I think in general they're outlets.
Okay.
There's just other outlets, but Demon Bitch is a main one too.
Yeah. I it's interesting because when I read Demon Bitch, I can laugh at it. I can see the angst. I can see the stories and the messages. But when I talk to you, I don't feel that you are Demon Bitch.
No, it's funny because I've been called Demon Bitch, but it's actually complimentary, which is funny. So it's kind of good because like I notice people don't fuck with me after
I
Demon Bitch.
don't.
I guess it's kind of like if you piss her off enough, she'll be good. You'll be in the cartoon. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm thinking about how other artists that are watching this can go like, you know what? I love what Christy said. I want to start drawing my stuff and doing stuff. What do you kind of advice do you have for them?
Don't lie about being who you are. Put it in your comic. Put it in the thing. Do it. I mean, for me, when I draw the comic, I'm laughing like a little asshole sometimes. I'll admit it, I'm just like giggling to myself and everything and whatever. But I don't know. Just do what you need to do for your art. Like, don't
Okay.
just do what you do. Follow your own little obsessions in terms of drawing what you want and following a certain subject matter with what you want. Um, if it's being angry towards something or someone or a group or a bunch of things, let it out. But do understand, don't like try to punch down excessively on things because what I've seen in some of the comics that I've seen when people have done that, they start selecting a group or they
Right.
start selecting a certain thing, and it's like, no, stop. And this isn't the typical, oh yeah, they're racist or what. No, it's just like for a while, like for example, jock. Let's pick jocks, right? Oh, I hate jocks because jocks are jerks or whatever. It's like, okay, not all jocks are jerks. Okay, I don't know where you're from, but it's like the jocks are. There's no such thing as like real jocks anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like there's sporty guys, but there's total jerks, and then there's total cool guys there. I don't know what you're talking about, men and women.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point here because when I do look at your comic, it's not picking on anyone in particular. It's making a message about, I guess, the world, about the situation, about outcomes, and inviting people into the cesspool, and like, do I really want to get in there with Demon Bitch or not?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah,
that's a very cool way of looking at things and getting your point across without picking on a group.
yeah. Like for me, like some of the characters are fat or they're obese, but I don't make fun of the character just because they're obese. There's like actually, you know, um, personality flaws that they have that add to that. Like even people that I know, some of my biggest fans are friends, and they're obese. They're not skinny or they're obese, but they find those characters funny because they get it. They get that I'm not mocking people that are fat or obese or otherwise not thin. Because I make fun of people that are thin too, but
Yeah.
I just make fun of the personality that derives from it because some of them are derived from people that I've known. And what makes people laugh more? Reality, right? Or
Right.
stuff based in reality. Like the person egg lady, like it was based off some people that I knew that were just liars about like how they worked out and who they were as people, but yet they were like these immensely like obese flabby pieces of crap. It's like, yeah, I bike 1,000 miles. I'm like, knowing that you bike 1,000 miles, I'm not saying you have to be rail thin, but that amount of work and input and exercise, you look like a sack of potatoes. What the hell? Like, you don't do anything. It's like like just picking out the behavioral patterns. You're like, you're not doing anything like that. You just do it for show.
There you go. Interesting. I love what we're talking about here. I'm gonna bring up some sites so people can actually see your stuff because people need to actually get in touch with you and enjoy your art. So we've got Horatora Studios, your link tree, so they'll find everything there, including Demon Bitch that we've been talking about. And you're also over on Instagram. You're on Twitter at Horatora Studios.
Yeah.
Got to put that. And I just love. I was mesmerized sitting here listening to you talk. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for being on. I
And this
really, really
slap.
just love that. What's this one's name?
This is Spam. I call him my little noodle guy. He
All
does it.
right, and
He hugs me and he pushes me. It's like weird how much strength he has.
I saw your black cat earlier. So um, one of these days we'll have to get a shot with both of them on your shoulders, looking at the camera. So thank
Well,
you so much for being on, Christy. I really appreciate it.
thank you for having me on. And
Yeah.
I really love talking about stuff like this. And it's funny when you just see my two little minions run around in the background and everything. But this show is relatively minion free.
I think most people should um, let their minions come on. It shows who they are and what they're about. So it's all good. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye.